Get the action started. B point. Slowly but surely, we'll see.
Attacking point, but Myztro had a very coordinated attack. They just didn't find the mix. Wins hit 3 or 4 rails in a row. EU carry, you know how it goes.
Round 2, fight.
Bozo.
Incoming soul.
Gets space to get the power up to defend with, then the game can basically be over from that point.
Yeah, and the problem comes in that Team Liquid was so well organized in defending that point B, which is far more open, that Myztro are having an exceptionally difficult time and really getting in. And every time they do capture, they're always so weak that Liquid's set up right in that mid ground and they can't get it back. And that's just exceptional play from Liquid, very well drilled.
You can see Hell was trying to make an effort there, and with Slash, Hell being a very proficient Quake 4 player back in his day, so definitely a character which has a movement set that will be appealing for him. But again, he was sort of alone in that attack there, but you do want to try to get someone onto the point, as you mentioned before. Slash is a great champion to get onto that point.
Yeah, no, Slash really is. But the problem is, if you don't have that follow-up, then it's completely useless. We see a Telefrag coming out there. From Wins.
Yeah, and he's the wins on the protection already, having the Soul on that point. How on earth are they going to get in there? Now, this should surely be another 20-30% going towards Liquid. This is a very, very desperate situation, but we do know this to be one of Myztro's worst maps, I think it's fair to say.
For sure. We saw them in the regionals picking out the clutch. And the reason I like them when they play with the clutch is because it really tackles that key deficiency that we've seen in this map, in that they lack coordination as a team. And when you have that... failing to regroup can really just mess up the entire defense that you have, and they've just all reactors for and gone to their relevant positions, and that's made Myztro's job absolute hell to actually even get anything on the board for either one of these rounds.
And here is the steal attempt from Liquid. Myztro getting a few percent on the board at the moment. Here on point A, it's going to be a hard one to hold, though, as the pressure is unrelenting from Team Liquid, just rushing in at the moment, trying to see if they can get some pickoffs. It's not going too well. It's like...
Yeah, and all of Myztro are so weak. Look at their health bars. They're all on like 10 health. All it takes is for a Nyx to come in and snipe them all off.
And the question, though, is whether or not they can regroup to get anything done here, because this is the problem. The power will spawn, and Liquid have so much of a buffer percentage to work with on their side of things that they are able to get that power up, get the steal. Yep. They're throwing it across now towards Rel, going for the fastest throw line with that Salt.
And look at him moving his forward, just making sure, shepherding the way, the quad's going in front, bullying the way for the Soul. And this is, we just see the basics done well in this game is what's making Liquid win.
And now they're just playing it safe, just going for the suicide there to transfer the quad onto someone who is healthy and onto the Anarchy as well. So much interception potential here, but perhaps that moment when they were switching the quad actually allowed the steal to happen there for Myztro, but it looks like it will only be momentary, and perhaps this is just an inevitability now. 99% Liquid going for the defense, still keeping one on that obelisk, another one sneaking on there, but they will be eliminated. And again, how many times will they be able to do this? That's the third one in a row, but it looks like it's clear.
We saw there right at the very end, just when Myztro had the cap and they were all low, discipline. It was discipline to back off. They recognized the timing of the quad. They knew they didn't need to push in. They had plenty of percentage to work with. And they took a clean quad, a clean steal, and that just, again, sound real play coming out from Liquid. Very, very impressed.
And one of the things that is, I think, going to be a challenge for Myztro, I think if we look at the entire pool of teams coming over from Europe, one thing that we can say against all of the American teams is that they have a huge amount of individual skill. And that can generally, I think, afford them an edge over a lot of the North American teams who might need to rely more on the strategy and their team play prowess, which I think was always one of the reasons why we've seen in teams at QuakeCons in years to pass, years that have passed, that's the reason why they've done so well, is that they just generally are... the North American teams just generally have great team plays. And I think that that's really going to be a big a point here in this tournament, a theme we'll keep going back to. But I think this is the one instance where you've got wins on the team. He has a lot of mechanical skill, and already that exists with the other three North American players who have a huge amount of tenure as well. So I think we saw a bit of a struggle there for Myztro in that sense.
I completely agree. When you shove wins in, one of the most prolific aimers in the world across any FPS, it's an ingredient that's been missing in the North American scene. Yes, they have all great mechanical skill, but Winsin also is an exceptional team player. And there was multiple instances across those rounds where we saw his Nyx coming to the fore, defending the point almost solo. If he wasn't there, it might have been that Myztro got another 10-15% and it was really close. However, we're moving into Ruins, I believe, and this is the map where we saw them play the best in the regionals. They're able to utilize that clutch play to the fullest, and that really binds their team together. And I think that was something that was missing in that game. It was a bit scragged, a bit TDM-esque, everyone going off on their little skirmishes. But when they have that clutch, it almost guarantees that you get and always you're going to get a steal. And that's very, very powerful because you can never have a lockdown on the map as we saw there. So assuming they go with the clutch, which I have been told is on the table, I think it will afford them a much better chance on this particular map.
And I think all teams have become a lot more adept at Slash. And Slash is a pickup that's been happening ever since the last couple of patches. It's become really good. And people are really getting used to using the ability, the Plasma Trail, to do a huge amount of damage. Because, again, Clutch, one of the reasons why he's so strong on Ruins is just the fact that he can just stand on the point. In fact, there's some spots where on the lower point, he can just have his back against the wall, have the shield up, and he just gets the cap. And there's like nothing you can do, but the Slash is the one answer to that with the Plasma Trail.
The versatility is key. How was versatility for you guys in the regionals?
Yeah, that was the problem. Hey, we didn't have much time, man. I was casting all over the place. I was like, you know what, guys, we should stick to one lineup and just practice that, get really good at that, not throw the clutch in there. I did play clutch on a few practices, but I didn't feel good enough on it.
I couldn't imagine you playing clutch, I'm not going to lie.
It's not exactly my style, no.
You like to go full frontal. But I think what we've seen is, yes, and this is one of the things we're quite excited about the regionals, that all the teams have sat back and observed what was successful. And Slash was, I want to say, a niche pick. There was only really Claws and Hell that were playing it. Hell didn't even play it every map.
I saw Toxic play a couple of times.
True, that's true. But I don't know about the American scene because we didn't obviously get much time to watch that. But now we see it's almost mandatory that every team has to have a Slash. And even Team Liquid forfeiting the Soul Lag potentially for a Slag, which is very unusual because you always generally need a Soul Lag in your line to frontline it, but they were able to make it work and played a very fast style and able to camp down the map particularly well, even with the smaller, squishier champions.
Yep. I think, again, with the Soul Lag, having the assist spit obviously is another great counter to that clutch. You might just be standing there with the shield. And generally speaking, I think, again, if you look at the trends here, generally in Quake champions, a champion that will offer you a lot of impact or can offer you a lot of impact is a champion that has a lot of good movement options. And that's a theme we will be discussing and seeing throughout the entire tournament. And that's the reason why Slash, I think, is very strong and why Soul Lag is very strong and the tank that you might want to choose, because both of their abilities, it limits movement options for the other players.
Especially if you have to stand on the obelisk when you're trying to get positioning around a power, that's really impactful. Exactly. This, at the end of the day, unlike TDM, which is where most of these players are working, this is an objective-based game. You have to fight around the obelisk, you have to fight around the power. So you have champions with abilities to control those areas, for instance, defending the obelisk. If that nullifies one attack, you then put your team under 15-20% of the board, and that puts extreme pressure on the team to mobilize quickly. And every subsequent attack becomes a little bit messier, a little bit messier. That's why we do see these massive score gaps, because it just increases the pressure, and you see the coordination starting to crumble as the pressure comes on.
I would really love to see on Ruins, and we might not get to see it switch in this tournament, but if you're not too fast there, they became quite well known for playing a 4-tank lineup, which
I don't think it's going
also
to
a 3-tank lineup. So, I mean, if they were going to do it, that would be nice to do it, but yeah.
I would love to see it. I'm a big fan of the tag champions, but at this point in time, I think throughout the tournament, it's going to change slightly, but at least in the practice leading up to this, it's been very small champion, niche ones, the quick ones. And I think 2Z to an extent more back to the 4, obviously the way the patch has changed, altered the dynamics, but 2Z start where they get a pick and they just kind of rush in like a swarm of tanks. So they're just going to swarm your base. That's really pushed to the fore these sort of champions saying, hey, this is a great play style.
It's actually fun to see wins again because he's putting on some muscle, man. He's ready to crush skulls between his biceps.
Well,
we try to get money some things, other things. You're going to the gym 3 times a day. What's that about? Why are you doing that?
I've got a lot of time.
Yeah, you just hate yourself.
I have a body dysmorphia or something. I don't know. Just have to.
Okay. Let's not. Okay, this is probably a topic we shouldn't investigate further onto.
It helps my aim.
It helps you. Does it really help your aim?
Yeah, Claus says he's got the best LG in the world, but he hasn't met me yet. So, and that's what I'm going to leave it at.
We used to practice duels together, and when I was inactive for a couple of years.
Yeah, you and I.
You were just smashing me for weeks, and then I started to get pretty good.
Then you got a map, and I quit the game.
Yeah, I started winning, and you just stopped playing me.
Yeah.
What was that about? Would you like to explain to people?
I think I broke my screen or something. I don't know.
Oh, right, okay.
I was unable to play for a few days. Days were good times. They were a really good time. I'm looking forward to practically playing some Sacrifice with you, though. We're just waiting. I think there's a little bit of a technical issue, but we are moving into Ruins of Sarnath. And I don't know, do you think the clutch is still viable?
Well, hang on for a moment on that course of conversation, because we did speak to Myztro earlier, so let's see what they had to say.
I'm Hu. I'm playing for Team Myztro. We met each other online. Hell and Garpy, I've known them for over a decade. And Hypno I actually met 3 months ago. They needed a 4th player, and that's where I stepped in. This is actually the first time I'm really competing with a team. It's really nice to have good teammates you can rely upon. Whereas in duel, you really have to rely on yourself. So that's what I like most about playing in a team game. It's just the team aspect and team bonding aspect. Sacrifice is a really fast-paced game. A lot of decisions are made within a split second, and you don't really have time to think about it. You just do it by feel. And since we have, all our players have played FPS games for over 15 years, so they all know what to do at the right time. We go in when we have to, and we defend when we gotta defend. So it's all based on experience, based on gut feeling, and I think we adapt well to our opponents. I'm expecting us to go through. Fast play style, backwards movement with anarchy, good fragging power, good quad runs. It'll be fun to spectate.
So we're back.
We are back indeed, and just hearing a few words from the legends there. And that's the thing as well. A lot of people, because they might be very familiar with Quake history, they might not be as familiar with the history of UT, because we've got Hypno sitting there, and he's a legendary UT player, a championship level player, being able to just win a huge amount of duel titles. One of the best duelers in the history of UT. So just the first two players on camera there, the combined experience is pretty remarkable.
And then you have Garpy, Half-Life world champion from, I don't know, 25 years? I don't know, 20 odd years ago?
Yeah, exactly.
And then Hell from Wales.
It's hard to live up to the level of experience there. But Hell, of course, is a player that's been playing at the top level of the European scene forever as well. I mean, he's a guy that has been bashing heads with all of these names in Duel, in Quake 4 and Quake 3 back in the days also. And I mean, I used to play. I mean, he's been very prominent in the UK scene. We've played against him for a huge amount of time as well. So he's incredibly experienced. He's got a lot of lands under his belt.
Yeah, and it wasn't showing in that last map. That's the problem. All of these guys, we look at their backgrounds and we say, yeah, they're all world champions. They're all top quality players, which is absolutely true. But they don't generally have the team background. And this is one of the things we found when we were speaking to Zacubus, the manager, previously, is that when the pressure comes on and when they haven't got that coordination and that focus, you generally see them branching off and doing their own thing in a very TDM-esque, jeweler-esque style, and that really costs them against a very well-oiled machines, should I say, such as Liquid, which we just saw great coordination coming out throughout both rounds, and it's a big difficulty. And this is why I asked the question, do you think the clutch is still viable? Because I think they do need it just to gel that team.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we did actually speak to Zacubus a little bit before at the regionals, and he was describing generally some of those issues. Also saying that, as you mentioned, your clutch was a really cool focal point to sort of bring them together. And because, as you say, like they have the intuition of dual players. Ultimately, I think that's a really good point to bring up, and it's one of the struggles that they might have to deal with, and it's something that they will have to overcome if they want to if they want to go very deep into this tournament where we have a lot of very skilled teams. And I have to say, that's one of the things I do really love about Team Liquid is, and watching them, and is the fact that these are amazing team players, and it's a very different mindset to have, and it's again one of the reasons why a player like Rafa or Dahang, for example, and Wins as well. They are all three of those players are incredibly good in both individual and teams, and that is quite a remarkable thing to say, that you can be so good at both disciplines. It's not a commonly held onto thing.
No, and I agree. I'm loving seeing Rafa winning on the Anarchy, because his role is so well suited to what he does. And again, like we spoke about, they have Wins in there just to fill that real aim-heavy, team-based role. And it just seems that they found a great strategy that's working for them.
Absolutely, and it does appear we do have a technical difficulty causing a delay. So we'll take a quick break, but we will be back here at the Quake World Championships.